All right. Morning. Woo! I'm trying to be so excited because Elaine, you and I in our neck of the woods, and we know that we get people that tune in from all over the world, but in our neck of the woods today, it is foggy. There's actually a fog advisory, and it's just gloomy. I don't know. There's something peaceful about fog, and then there's something that's kind of sad about fog. How do you feel about it?
No, I go heavily towards just something gloomy about fog.
Yeah, like I want to see the beauty in it. And like, right, we've got the hoarfrost on the trees from it, and that's really pretty. But I'm
That's
like,
pretty.
bring on the sunshine, please. I don't want to live in this darkness. It feels gross.
Yeah, it's like don't look up at the sky. If you can just look at the hoarfrost and the, shrubberies, you're fine. But yeah, looking up, mm,
Yeah.
not so good.
Well, and
And I
then you
think
live
we're all
out,
just so ready. We're just so ready for spring, right? I
yeah,
mean, that's the other
totally.
part.
And you live out on a farm, right? Like, or a
Yes.
ranch? Yeah.
Yeah, we ranch just south of town, south of High River here.
Yeah. And so I think too, I don't know if it's in the Farmer's Almanac or it's like an old, because I grew up farm life, and I was always told and taught, you know, 3 months after fog is heavy rain. Is that the general rule? Was that something you knew? I thought it was
It
like
is.
90 days after fog means rain. So if we think about it,
It is
that's
good.
the beginning of June. That's about
That's
right on par that we're going to get some good rain.
and we need good rain, like
Yeah.
that. So let's go with that belief because yeah, come early June, we could sure use some rain in
Well,
our neck of the woods.
the last 2 days have been pretty foggy. And so on the way to school today, my son was like, whoa, fog again. We are going to get some rain, Mom.
Good for him, right? That's
Yeah.
so important. Like when
Yeah.
kids can kind of see that positive spin on it.
Yeah. I'm like, it'll be good. Good morning, Angie. Good morning, Cheryl. As you join Coffee Club this morning, please feel free to say hi in the comments. Let us know you're here and hanging out. I'm excited. We're doing a Wellness Wednesday focus today, and I'm so thrilled to have my friend Elaine joining us on the show. And Elaine is with Solera Health Quest, and really is just so involved in community, in youth and children's mental health, adult mental health. You're a community advocate. We used to hang out quite a bit on when we'd have community cafes, which I feel like we need to bring back, but that's side note that we'll talk about later. But just so thrilled to have you join us this morning to have a little chit chat and a check in on mental health.
I'm delighted to be here. And I really think that youth and child mental health is so important because if we can support it's going to support those people throughout their lives.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. So we're going to dive into some conversation about youth and children mental health this morning and some strategies, but I thought we'd maybe start with, I know the last couple of days, if you're somebody who's had to commute, and so this part of the conversation may be geared more towards those who are living in Alberta, but this has either happened or will be happening no matter where you are. But it's kind of like back to work this week. So people who have been working from home are now expected to come into the office. There's some restrictions being lifted with masking, and there's a real change to our routine that we were sort of getting used to, although we've lived in uncertainty for 2 years. But I just feel like I want to check in for people and give them some strategy on adjusting to this big change this week, because kids could be going back to school in some cases if they were being homeschooled, or like, I just think of parents who have to figure out before and after school care now. Like, there's so many moving parts, Elaine.
there are so many moving parts. And one of the things, Jody, that I see is that parents don't necessarily want to talk to their kids about these moving parts because they don't want to worry them.
Yeah.
And the thing is, kids already know it. Like our kids are so smart and our teens are so smart. So having those conversations of, you know what, tomorrow morning's Monday. I haven't had to get dressed and go to the office for 2 years and I have to go. So we need to all talk together as a family, about how this is going to look so that we're not shouting at each other in the morning because suddenly everything's different. So I think
Or
that's,
even, yeah.
go
Sorry,
ahead.
keep going. I was going to say, or even like give yourself permission in advance. Okay, tomorrow morning, I'm going to be really stressed out and I'm probably going to snap at you and I'm probably going to seem crazy, but I want you to know I love you and I don't mean to. Like just giving you a heads up, this is probably going to happen because we're
Yeah.
human and it feels weird.
Yeah, and it does feel weird. And so planning something if possible, right? Like after work, after school. So could the fact that we're all going to kind of get through this first day and there will be some snapping and some grumpiness, but could we plan our very favorite special supper? Buy those ingredients ahead of time so that there's kind of that treat and reward where, okay, yep, we were all kind of cranky with each other, but now we're going to have our favorite supper together. You know,
Yeah.
it, it's and also like we were talking about like giving ourselves some grace. It is a transition period, and I know that parents are struggling in how to sort of be those good, caring, patient parents that we all read about until it's Monday morning
Yeah.
and our kids won't get dressed, so we can't get them out the door.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I feel too like everyone should make signs to go in their cars and just be like, "Hey, I might give you the bird today because I haven't driven in traffic in 2 years and I forget how to commute. So, I apologize in advance. Have a beautiful day."
Yeah. Please be patient. And if you give me the bird, well, I'll just smile at you nicely too,
Yeah,
because
let's just smile and wave really like goofily at anybody who gives you the bird in traffic this week. I don't know. It's just some interesting moving parts for sure. Let's talk about child and youth mental health. I know that's a big passion of yours, and you've been working with some incredible youth in the community where you live over the last bit, doing really neat programs and just trying to keep things moving and shaking during this really crazy time frame. But where do we start this conversation at? Like I think people are in a number of different places with kind of how they're feeling right now.
so I think there's different levels of kids and youth mental health. So the kids being kind of cranky and not wanting to go to bed on time and just the frustrations in a family, that's just, and dare I use this word, usual mental health challenges. But then there's the challenges where, kids' behavior is out of control. And, we hear so much about this like behavior regulation. But if we as parents can't, regulate our behavior, it's hard to help our kids do that. So, at the next level is, kids where we're seeing them really struggling in school, teenagers refusing to go to school, door slamming, like where it seems excessive to just kind of normal family life. I think that it's helpful to see a counselor, like even for one session, just to say, can you just give us a quick family snapshot or see where we're at? Because the worry around, what's going on, and I know this is a big topic, but youth and child suicide rates, Jody, are some of the highest. And we don't want that. We
No.
want kids, we really want kids and teens to feel they've got that really safe place to come and do some play or some creative arts therapy, so that they can express some of these big feelings. Because if you think about, right, like you're 10, and for 2 years of your life, we've been dealing with COVID and all the changes. Like that's a big part of your life.
Yeah.
Whereas, if you're like me and you're, 59, full disclosure, 2 years has been a long time, but it's not the same amount of time in my life. So I guess, some of the so if people are seeing their kids that they're really worried about their behavior, and it's just a huge struggle, I really recommend go and see somebody. And lots of places have 30-minute complimentary consultations, so you don't have to pay any money. You can just come and see and get a sense. Now, other than those kinds of situations, one thing, and especially now with things being lifted, kids and teens need their peers. The older we get, the less we kind of need our parents. Like they still need us,
Yeah.
but they need their peer group. So when kids want to have sleepovers, just say yes. If there's a way to organize kids going and doing like whatever it is that they love to do, if there's a way to say, you know, is there an art class or a sporting event or a, you know, can you organize it? Like, and not every day, right?
Yeah.
But if you can find a way now for your kids and your teenagers to connect with other kids, I think we're going to notice a big change in behavior.
Yeah. Well, and it's easy to take those little pieces for granted when
Yeah.
you're just in what I think a lot of us have been in for the last while is just survival mode. And
Yes.
want to say like right off the top of that is that that's okay. If you've just been if you feel like you're just making it through every day, that's okay. You've made it through every single day. So good for you. Doesn't have to be the comparison things that you see on social media. If you're just surviving, that's okay because you're surviving. But it's hard to identify some of these things if that's the place you're in.
And you know what? And so that's where we get into, adult mental health. Same thing. Like if we're getting through every day and man, I look at that as being a success story.
Yeah.
But if I can't sleep and my anxiety is getting overwhelming and my mood is so low and maybe I'm having thoughts of, harming myself, then it's time to get some professional support. But the same thing is if we're just tired, and now with going back to school, that's another back to school, back to work, that's another thing to add on to our, kind of onto our plate. What is one thing that I love to do that I maybe could do once a week or once every 2 weeks? And
Yeah.
give ourselves that break. Like get, like if you love art or if you love, and I know like one of the big challenges that I'm seeing is, finances, that this for some families has been incredibly challenging financially. So then we think, well, I can't do anything because I can't afford to.
Right.
So again, looking at, the town site and what might be some free events. And, we're kind of in between, unfortunately, that all the stuff that went on around our Christmas season,
Yeah.
and music and the park opening up, and that's in High River. So, but in other communities, look and see, find a walking buddy. I know it seems hard because when you're really tired, who feels like walking? But find a walking buddy that's willing to just 15 minutes a day. Like don't do an hour. Don't set yourself up for failure because we do that. We're
Yeah.
going to fix this, excuse me, and suddenly we're going to be super mom and we're going to be walking an hour a day and we're going to be home cooking all our meals. Mm-mm,
Yeah.
right? 'Cause we just, I mean, we cannot maintain that. So even one person 15 minutes a day where, and sometimes in my working partners, we agree that we don't even talk to each other. Like we're just so
Yeah.
tired. It's like, can we just walk for 15 minutes? And
Yeah.
I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk about my work or my kids or my
Nothing.
money
Yeah.
situation. I just want to walk for 15 minutes in
Yeah.
peace and quiet and just listen to the birds.
Yeah. And just be alone together.
Mhm.
Which
Yeah.
is it sounds very contradicting, but it can be really beneficial.
It can be. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that way you're not complaining about your stuff and they're not complaining about their stuff and you get home and really how much better are you as opposed to we're just going to have 15 minutes and what we call that is mindfulness.
Yeah.
15 minutes of mindfulness and so it's helpful. It's hard to be mindful if you're at home and your kids are fighting.
Yeah.
So it is nice to go out. The other thing that has been really successful, and it sounds so simple, but is to every day write down 5 things you're grateful for. It has tremendous impact. Get your kids to do it. You guys do it. Put a chart up on your fridge. Like, and when I say a chart, nothing, don't spend an
Don't get
hour
Pinteresty
deciding.
on us.
Yeah, put a piece of paper up there and here's who's in the house and here's our 3 or 5 things we're grateful for today. It really is such an effective mental health strategy that right? You can do it at home, costs no money. You can do it by yourself. You can do it with your kids.
Yeah, you could even get like even like a magnetic whiteboard, right, on
Yeah,
the fridge, and then you can just erase it every day, so you don't even have to find another piece of paper all the time. It's just,
yeah,
here's today. You could take a picture with your phone if you wanted, or I
yeah.
like I have a friend who I'm not a big Snapchatter, but
Mhm,
my girlfriend is a big Snapchatter, and so what she did as one of her mental health tools is when she was working through a process is she would just take a snap of like her
mhm.
journal entry or if she went for a walk or what she did, and she didn't post it anywhere, but Snapchat saves it in your memories in your thing. And so she the other day said she went through and looked back at the last year of how many things she had
Mm.
done to work on her mental health. And she said, like, Jody, like, I did so much work
Yeah,
for me and about me. She's like, I'm so proud of myself. And here I'd thought I hadn't really accomplished anything. And
and
boom, there was proof. So, I mean, you don't have to do it through Snapchat, but it's even just taking a photo of that quick moment. It doesn't have to be shared and paraded all over your socials. It's just to remind you all
yeah,
the things that you are doing. And if you think back in the last 2 years, you probably did more in this last 2 years than you would ever even imagine. And that's so beautiful.
yeah. And we want to celebrate those little successes, right? It's don't wait to celebrate till you climb the mountain. You know,
No.
as you say, you get up and everybody gets fed breakfast. That's a success.
Win.
Celebrate, yeah, celebrate that. We all had breakfast today, or we,
Yeah,
but
we all had our boots on by the right time, like whatever
yeah,
it is, like the
yeah.
little things matter. Yeah.
And the little things really matter. I think that's the most important thing about mental health is that we forget is we think it's the big things and it really isn't. It's the little things that we can do and recognize and celebrate them. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I like that. I like and again, the gratitude thing is something that, I mean, if 5 things feels too overwhelming, start with 1. Like,
Do one.
don't over stress yourself on being the best gratituder
Mhm.
or whatever
Well,
that proper word would be. Yeah.
I try to do that, before this is my strategy because,
Mm,
even to write it down sometimes seems like too much. But before I go to bed at night, that's the last thing I do is I just list my gratitudes. So I
yeah,
don't have to actually do anything about it. I'm already in bed. I
yeah,
feel like it allows me to fall asleep with a grateful heart, which I think is a good thing. All those kinds of things.
yeah. Well, and I've learned in, doing some coaching over the last month is that kind of what you do in the evening and before bed actually sets you up for a great morning. And it was
That's
something that I probably have heard that 1,000 times and was like, yeah, yeah, no, that's a really great philosophy. But until I started doing some of those things, like
mhm,
I'll journal before I go to bed just to brain dump all my thoughts so that because I'm the lay in bed, swirl all the things of the
mm,
day.
mhm.
So I dump them before I go to sleep. And in doing that process and maybe doing 20 minutes of like yoga stretches, all of a sudden the morning feels so much better.
Yeah, because sleep is so important, and most people are not getting enough sleep because their brain, as you say, is on that brain swirl. We do things to distract ourselves, um, and yeah, then it takes us an hour or 2 hours to fall asleep.
Yeah.
And so the other thing are on the internet there are some really good guided meditations, like guided sleep and anxiety meditations that you can listen to. So it's kind of like with mental health, there's no one size fits all. It's what brings some joy into each of our lives. How do we feel connected with ourselves and our other people? And I think we don't talk or learn that much about like our connection to ourselves and our relationship with ourselves. I think that's really important. We get busy caring for other people, but
Yeah.
we don't care for ourselves. And so all those kinds of things, just kind of brain dumping, journaling, drawing a picture about it. If you don't like to write, just draw a picture of your day. Like, and
Yeah,
I
just have some fun with it. Yeah.
yeah, and I do that with kids all the time. Like we do all sorts of like creative arts and play approaches. because for kids to come and then look at an adult and decide, think that they're going to tell us everything they're thinking and feeling, that doesn't work so well. So,
That's a
so
pipe dream.
after a while, it isn't. After a while,
Mm,
kids love to come and sit and kind of tell me because it's all confidential and no one's going to tell their parents and they can
yeah,
just do their brain dump. But rather than writing it, they can just do it with another person. But
yeah,
but at first we start with play approaches, and I have sand pits and we make their family using different sea animals and who's the shark in the family that kind of bites when the
yeah,
family gets annoyed and who's the parent or the person in the family that is the clam or the turtle that sucks everything back. And
yeah,
you'd be surprised at how much kids are able to understand that, oh, here's my family and how we all react to stress,
yeah.
just like different sea animals react to stress. Anyways,
I think that adults need to take child therapy.
yeah,
Because
well,
what you just said, I'm like, I want to play in a sandbox and show you who my
well,
shark and my turtle and my everything. Like, don't you think about it? Like, I think lots of times we put this interesting pressure because we've been so conditioned that adults have to think a certain way. And as a parent,
yeah,
you have to be this level, but really, like, take it down. Like, and then we're really, I think, then exploring that inner child piece, which is where a lot of healing is going to come from anyway.
absolutely. And lots of parents will come and see what their kids are doing, and then they'll be quite open to then they want to do it, or creative
Yeah.
arts and reflective art journaling and we just
Yeah.
kind of and it's very therapeutic because it allows people just a different way to kind of get in touch with themselves. And as you said, Jody, right, like you're in our inner child, and
Yeah.
and for some people that inner child did not get the nurturing that it needed. It was had trauma.
Yeah.
So, and that's where I say, like with mental health, like no one size fits all. It's really important that we really that we kind of look at ourselves, and sometimes we need a professional to do that and sometimes we don't,
Yeah.
but really look at ourselves and our teens and our kids and kind of say, okay, I've got this screaming child. What's going on under the behavior? How can I
Yeah.
support the fact that for whatever reason this child is super frustrated and can find no other way to let us know how frustrated they are other than to scream and yell?
Yeah. Stay curious. Stay
Yeah,
curious with your kids, your
yeah.
friends, your coworkers, all the
Yourself,
pieces. Yeah. Well, and
yourselves.
it's funny that our conversation went here today because the other day I went and bought, I just thought, oh, I want a fun journal. Like I do a lot of journal
Mm,
writing, but I wanted a fun one that I could be a little bit more
mm.
expressive in it. So I ended up buying one from like the youth section of the store. And it's like right on the front, it's like, you are magical. And it has unicorns and narwhals and lamacorns and like all of these things. And all the conversation and the prompts inside are very kid like, but it's allowed me to step into this space where I'm just like, yeah, I'm going to draw what I feel today. I wouldn't normally do that because I have not an artistic bone in my body, but it's just allowed me to play same kind of thing. You're still assessing where you're at, what your feelings are, what you're doing, but in this really playful way. And then I just feel like, I'm like they're speaking to me like narwhals and unicorns and llamas. Like it's really good. So maybe it's something as simple as that's where you start. So it gives you a little bit of a prompt. I don't know. But
I,
just
I
funny
think
that we talked about it when I just
I
bought it
know.
like a
I
few
just
days
bought it.
ago.
Because we don't want to take ourselves too seriously. And that's the thing is, when we're experiencing depression and anxiety, we get very blinded and all we see is these, really difficult, challenging um, feelings. And so, yeah, so if drawing your narwhal and coloring what color you're feeling today, right, if that allows some of that stuff to come out,
Yeah.
then
Now I'm
that's
just
great.
excited to get into it. Yeah, it's
I
good.
know, I know.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate I wanna be mindful of people's time because I know people are heading back to work and stuff is changing and people will maybe catch this later. So hopefully if you're not live with us today and you do catch this video, please just still say hi in the comments. If you have any questions, Elaine will see these questions as well from the video. So you can feel free to throw any questions in there or reach out to her if you would like to know some more strategies or help, or even if you're looking for somebody to get some additional support from. This is what Elaine does. So feel free to reach out to her. And Elaine, thank you. I think we will have many more conversations like this as we continue to support people through, whatever the next steps look like for us. And your time is just so valued today. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I really enjoyed this. And as you say, you and I've kind of had all sorts of different connections and both really engaged in the community and care about mental health. So I really value this opportunity. And yes, I will keep my eye open in the comments, ongoing. If people have questions, you can ask a question without coming to see me. You can just say, or I'm looking for resources in this area, or, so yeah.
You can always do I'm asking for a friend thing. I need resources for a friend. We don't care who they're for, but Coffee Club's a safe space. And I monitor all of our comments on our channels to ensure that we continue to have a safe space. So ask what you need or private message Elaine. I'll tag her afterwards so that you can have her information. But just appreciate taking some time to have realistic conversations about our mental health and taking away, we try to whittle down each little bit of stigma every day on just that these are conversations we need to have.
Yeah, and they do. That's the most important thing, is the conversations we need to have. And we don't want everything sort of in secret and where we're thinking, well, I should talk about this. Everybody's feeling this way. Like, you'd be surprised how many people struggle. So yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
Well, cheers to you, Elaine.
Oh,
Everybody else, have an amazing rest of your Wednesday. And remember that this world is a better place because you are in it. So thank you so much for being a part of it. And we will see you back here Friday morning at 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Have a good day, everybody.